Well, here I am. Welcome to the shed again. And some more old junk. Or to use George Fiddler's phrase, another piece of crap. Oh dear. Got here an Amerex in-car 8-track player. And this was designed to be mounted underneath the dashboard on something like an old Mini or a Cortina 3 or, perhaps an Austin Allegro, Vauxhall Viva. God, showing my age now, I know what all those cars were. The first one I had was a Wolseley 1300. Same engine as the 1300 Mini Cooper. And it went like the clappers. I still miss that old thing now. This, of course, is designed for operation on about 14 volts. The motor in it is one of those centrifugal governor things. And if they ever do give trouble, and they don't very often, I've got to be honest, it would be a bit of a pain because you can't just pop a cassette motor in it like you would a early Jappy cassette deck that was mucking about with a governator motor gone up the spout. Used to very often fit electronic control ones instead, and off it would go again for a good few years as often as not. Now these 8-track things, they have a most peculiar arrangement. The tape inside the cartridge is actually on a loop, and the two ends are joined by a length of alley tape. And what happens is when it reaches the end of the track and the join runs across these electrodes here, shorting them out, firing this big solenoid, which activates this mechanism and moves the head vertically up or down in order to play the next track. I know, sounds incredible, doesn't it? And after a long time, sometimes you'd find that you might have trouble with the thing actually playing what you were listening to and part of the other tracks too. And when that happened, the thing to do was to adjust this screw here, and that got rid of the crosstalk for you. Ah, good heavens, yes. Happy days. You can see for yourself, very, very basic indeed, this. Bring the lamp over a bit. Just got tone, balance, volume, and your channel selector that lights up, so that you can see where it was at night. Nice touch. A lot of players had the number displayed on there that you were actually playing at the time, but this one doesn't. I mean, a bit on the basic side. It's made by Amerex. That's the same firm that made my rig indoors with the AM/FM radio that runs on the mains and the two big speakers, and actually sounds very nice. This is Japanese, but the other one is made in Korea. You see that? Ka-chunk, on to the next track. Just a little flash of alley in there and then clunk. Now there's no play button on this. When you push a tape in, it just closes this switch and away it goes. It couldn't be simpler. Got a bit of crackle there on the volume control. Now, although all this seemed like a good idea, it never really caught on over here in England, the 8-track. And I think it's probably because we're so close to mainland Europe, and of course Philips were making a smashing range of cassette players and recorders, and of course reel-to-reel machines, which people have got used to, and the 8-track did have its limitations. And I can remember one story that Craig at Blue Daz told me a long while ago now. He's over in Canada, and you'd get people jump in their car on a freezing cold morning and start her up, push a tape into this, and of course there'd be condensation in there, and it would eat the tape. Other complaints were the crosstalk problems, with the thing rattling itself out of alignment. Very few machines were made that would actually record. You could see why, because you can't actually see anything at all of the tape. You see it in the end there, obviously, where it's exposed. The pinch roller is built into the cartridge, rather than being a part of the tape deck like a reel-to-reel or a cassette or a micro cassette. So it was very difficult to judge how much time you'd got left to record, and this would lead sometimes to the thing changing channel in the middle of your recording, with a rather inconvenient interruption, and then ka-chunk, and then it would come back on again. The other problem was that if you made only a short recording and you wanted to listen to it straight away, you couldn't really do it, because owing to the mechanical design of those cartridges, and the decks too, of course, there was no rewind. Some of these things had a fast forward, but and it played it back at 7.5 IPS, which was exactly double the 3 3/4 that the tape usually travelled at. The tape itself is the same size as that found on most domestic reel-to-reels. The only difference is with this that because it's in a loop and it all has to slide past each other when it's on the bobbin in the middle, if you like, they coat the underside with graphite, and that aids it in slipping along. Things to beware of when you find one this old: well, obviously you might find dud capacitors or crackly volume controls or whatever, and this one's got a crackly volume control. And the cartridges themselves can give trouble, because under the tape there is a foam pad. Now what I do is to replace that with a piece of foam draft excluder. I think I've got some up here. See, that stuff comes on a roll from places like Poundland or B&Q or wherever, and you just put a bit of that, measure out, there's a piece of card underneath there, make another bit the same size, cut a piece of foam to suit, and then slip that in. If you see a rotten foam pad in there, don't be tempted to play it, because if it winds it into the bobbin, any of that gingerbread gunge, then you might as well kiss the cartridge goodbye. Oh dear, yeah, I don't know, happy days. Actually made in Japan, this one. The rig out in my drawing room is made in Korea. So yeah, there's the Amerex name, complete with the inevitable 1970s piece of wood, which is actually plastic. But yeah, I mean, nice looking set, isn't it? Chrome, wood, black, brush metal, and the faintly sort of Phillips-like lettering down there. Yeah, a rare refugee, I should think, nowadays. Anyway, I've rumbled on for long enough, so I'll leave you in pieces, and see you soon.